Second day of the Halachot Shabbat of Magen Avot Yomi program. I hope that everyone is so far following. That wouldn't be too good if we're missing already. We are we are still holding in even in the hachanot, in the preparations of Shabbat, Erev Shabbat, which in the Shulchan Aruch it's Siman Resh Mem Bet. So yesterday we learned about the importance of tasting things, lichvot Shabbat, and preparing things and spending money on things for Shabbat, even if you don't have. Your Hashem is going to prepare, is going to pay back. And then we get to the Shulchan Aruch that says, the Rama actually mentions, Moram, as was said by us, Moram, Noagim lalosh kede shiur challah. The minhag is to bake challah on Erev Shabbat. This is already written in the Midrash because Chava was chalato shel olam. She was like she was needed from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and she was like she was also created on Erev Shabbat, and therefore, besides the fact that it is kavod Shabbat to have chalot, right? But there's also that also Chava was created at that time, and that's an important midrash. Now, there is many segulot that even women that they buy in bakeries, that according to Ikar Halacha, if you buy in a bakery, the first reason doesn't apply for sure. But there are many segulot that Nashim Kshirot take upon themselves to bake challah and to pray by the challah. And there's been many yeshuot that came out of there, many salvations, and it's definitely an important inyan that a woman, she does the bracha that it was given to her of nida challah zakatadak. Now, when does a woman do a bracha on challah or not? Beyond the scope of this shiur, I might actually post a document that I have prepared, but it's not for publication yet, about certain details about when a person takes off challah or not, what's the minimum shiur. You'd be surprised that it doesn't have to be so large, but it's you can't make a bracha maybe until you get to the full shiur. So I'll try to post that as soon as I'm able to. But obviously, I'm talking about a bag of flour, which is 5 pounds. That for sure you're chayav. I'm talking about even much less than that. You might be obligated, but sometimes with the bracha, sometimes without. And then there's other details. If you're making challah in order to be given out to all types of houses, that's called lechalek. Maybe then you don't make a bracha. Beyond the scope of this shiur, but I will send a document. Now, the Mishtabura adds on that although we are allowed to eat bread baked by goyim as long as it's kosher, but on Shabbat, it's better not to have bat paltar at the table. In other words, at Shabbat, it's better not to have bread baked. What's bread baked by goyim? I don't know the hechsherim, what they give them, but let's say you go to a Ralph's, a Vaughn's, or Metro, wherever you're at, and you buy, let's say, a loaf of bread, Sara Lee's. I don't know if it's a kosher. It's not Pat Yisrael. The Jewish bakeries are all Pat Yisrael. It's very easy to make it Pat Yisrael. Just you have to have something that was turned on by a Jew even once, and even though by Bishul Goyim doesn't work that way, by Pat works that way. Everybody knows that during the Aseret Yemei Tshuva we try to eat only Pat Yisrael. But let me give you a practical example, not to bring bread of Goyim to the table. Also mizonot, that technically if you would eat a lot of it, you'd have to wash. So even right now it's called Pat Paltar, and you shouldn't have that mizonot at the table. What's mizonot that is baked by non-Jews? Oreo cookies. Now, Oreo, it says DE. Not always is it really, it's probably Parev, a lot of them. It says D, I'm sorry, they don't even have DE, OU. They say D. But a lot of them are Parev. It doesn't have any ingredients at all milk. And I think that according to what the OU says, you could use them. So if you want to bring them at the end of your meal, so according to Mishtabura, on Shabbat, it's not proper to do that because it's pat yisra. Is it asur? It's not asur. But it's a nice stringency in order to have. Now, Furthermore, if you take a look in the Magen Avot daily, if you haven't ordered the book Rabotai, please, we have Baruch Hashem. Not just gonna, besides a few dollars in shipping, that's all it costs in order to get it over you. Don't delay. The besides the fact that there's an inyan to bake challah, and then there's an inyan to have Pat Yisrael. There's also an inyan to go to the mikveh on Friday. Now, for men, for the men to go to the mikveh. Now, it's not a halacha. It's not a halacha for men to go to the mikveh, but it is an inyan based on a different sfarim of mikubalim that it purifies the soul. And indeed, I researched that even in Morocco, a lot of the pious people, they would go to the mikveh. I have from the biography of Rabbi Shlomo Kadosh of Marrakesh, how would be careful in the alleyways of Marrakesh to go to the mikveh. And then then there's Baba Sali, obviously, but there's many other Chachamim that would be Rabbi Mordechai Abitan. I saw one of the biographies that they would make sure to go to the mikveh. So it's not like something that's foreign to our custom. I remember, I think today is the yahrzeit of the Tosha Rebbe. I'm giving this year already in Av right Chodesh Av right now. And I think when I was young, at 16 years old or something, I went to visit him. He said, make sure to go to the mikveh every Friday. I'll tell you also that if a person's not able to go to the mikveh, so there is something called tish'a kabin, going under a shower and having 9 kabin, which around 2 to 4 minutes, depending on the shower, a person would have to stay under the shower. But my good friends from Montreal, Rabbi Toledano, points out that what you have to do is that you have to go in the shower and then turn on the faucet that it falls onto you directly in order for that to happen. And also, the Pri Megadim writes for Tisha Kabin, you would have to stay like in one spot in order for it to go around, to be able to the water to come on. But that's an alternative source. If you're not able to go to the mikveh, that 9 kabin are poured upon you. That would work as well. There is a Kaf HaChaim that mentions, based on the Chemdat Yamim, that if a person wants to have like the lowest rung possible, they do Netilat Yadayim 40 times on each hand, so that has some type of tikkun. It's not like Tisha Kabin, it's definitely not like the mikveh, but it's already some type of tikkun. So these are interesting details to prepare before Shabbat properly. The Mishnah Berurah points out in the Biur Halacha that from the Ramah says there are those who have the minhag that they prepare a pashtida. That means lichsecher laman. That means in Moroccan we would call it a pastela, which means that they'd have bread on top, and in the middle, well, they have potato, but whatever, bread on top. Okay, I don't want to say it wrong. You have bread on top, and then you have meat in the middle, and then bread on the bottom. And that is in order to be zecher laman. That also fell with those type of layers. And then the Biur Halacha asks, how can it be? I mean, the bread wasn't prepared before Shabbat, right? I'm sorry, the bread wasn't, the man wasn't given on Shabbat. And why does the Ramah say only Shabbat and not Shabbat and Yom Tov? Also on Yom Tov, bread fell double before Yom Tov. So he says it's in order to remember all the things that were created before Shabbat, like the that's why we have fish and we have meat, because all of that was created before Shabbat. So it's also to remember that. So that is also regarding the Pashtida. Chazak u'baruch.